Well, we've spoken about IPL, and now let's bring it home. As we know, Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed has appointed a committee to oversee the election process of Cricket Kenya in the hopes to create a difference in the Kenyan cricket scene. And joining us today to talk about cricket in Kenya, he's an MBE award winner for services to underprivileged young people and cricket in Kenya. Not only that, but he has been a committee member of Nairobi Gymkhana, chairman of Kenya Kongonis Cricket Club, and also committee member of Nairobi Club, and the list is never ending. Of course, he was also part of the selection committee, the chairman of the selection committee of Cricket Kenya here in Kenya, of course, and I'm talking about David Waters. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Well, pleasure is all ours. And now let's just jump right in. You're a program director for Foundation for Youth Cricket and Education in Kenya's Charitable Trust. So what would you say is required for Kenyans to start loving and taking an interest in this sport once again?
How long is this show? Where do we begin? It's not going to be an easy road, but the Cabinet Secretary has certainly made the right move by putting a normalisation committee in place to oversee a new constitution and a new structure in Kenyan cricket. But one of the main problems in Kenyan cricket over the last 40 years that I've been involved in it here has been youth development. There has almost been no youth development, nothing structured at least. And unless you have a youth development program, obviously you never recreate the next generation of Kenyan cricketers. If you go back to 2003 when we were in the semi-final of the World Cup, riding the wave of success, money was flowing through the game in Kenya. Everything you would have thought that would have given us the perfect foundation from which to then springboard into the future. Well, sadly, that didn't happen because all the money that came into Kenyan cricket was squandered. It was no money, I should say, was actually earmarked for youth development, and therefore when that magnificent group of Kenyan cricketers retired and got older, there wasn't another generation that came through that was of sufficient quality to sustain the success that we had achieved.
Very true, actually. Yes, that is bang on. But you spoke about squandering of money. I have another question. I've gone through the draft of the Constitution right now for 2020. There is no salary amount that is put up against the people in the board. You are part of the selection committee. So here's my question. Does the chairman, I know the CEO is appointed by the board, but does the chairman, the treasurer, the secretary general, are they all full-time workers getting a salary out of it? Or is it just a job so that they push Kenyan cricket out there without any money coming into their pockets?
Okay, it's a good question, but I think you're almost putting the cart before the horse. So I think we should actually pull back a little bit. Cricket in Kenya is an amateur sport. Cricket in the league that we play in the World Cricket League is an amateur sport. We get a minimal amount of funding from the International Cricket Council to help run our affairs. If you go to the other cricket associate members that are in the same associate member category that we are, there are 92 associate members, I think, or 93 in world cricket. If you look at the teams around us, the team one below us is Jersey. They have 30 cricket clubs in the whole island. They have a population of 100,000 people only. Okay, their chairman does not expect to be paid to do a job to run the sport in the country.
Right.
And the same applies way up above the number 24 in the world rankings that we are in T20 cricket. Essentially, cricket associations at amateur level all over the world, the people that do it as volunteers. And I'm struggling to understand the sort of the mindset of people that think that right now Kenya is in a position to professionalize a game. Essentially, if you play for Oman, let's take Oman. I'm not sure how many million people live in Oman. I think it's like 5 million people. Well, they're probably number 12 or 13 in the list or something like that. They're way above us. Their cricketers go to work during the day, and at the end of the day, they make their way to a training ground and they train for their clubs, and then if they're lucky enough to be selected for the national side, they play for the national side and they train for the national side.
Yeah.
But they all have full-time working jobs.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because it's an amateur sport.
Correct.
Okay. You've got to equate this to a business. And the best way that I can do that is to say, forget playing of cricket or football or whatever the professional sport is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business. You're a businessman. You have to sell a product. So you have to promote the product, produce the product, develop the product, and then put it out into the marketplace, and hopefully somebody, a consumer, will come along and buy that product.
Yep.
And they will buy it for an amount of money.
Yep.
And when you scale that up, lots of money comes in, or not much money
Yep.
comes in, to the pot. And it's on the basis of what comes into the pot that you're then able to spend money.
Right.
Now re-equate that to a professional sport, and we're talking about cricket. We can only spend what we've got.
Correct.
Period.
Correct. Well, you kind of avoided the question really well, but I will get back. Still in conversation with David Waters, who is doing so much to develop cricket, especially in the youth, trying to get them to start loving this sport and take it forward for Kenya especially. And you've done much work, but where is the government is the question that I have, which I'll ask after a bit. But let's go back to the question I asked earlier in terms of salary. To be part of the board. Is it supposed to be voluntary services? Who should be the one earning it, and whether the current draft of the constitution, does it allow for the chairman, for the secretary general, for the treasurer also to earn out of there, or is it just given to the CEO stroke the general manager?
Okay, so I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to avoid the question, but I was getting to it by giving you the background.
Yes.
In respect of, you can only pay what you've got in the pot.
Correct.
So this is a personal opinion. This is not based on the constitutional draft, and I'm relating it to other countries in the world in a similar situation to us. This is my personal view. The elected positions are people who are volunteers. So if you go back over the last 40 years that I've been involved in Kenyan cricket and playing it and administrating, the chairman never got paid, the secretary never got paid, the treasurer never got paid.
Right.
But when we were in a position, when the money came in enough for us to employ a CEO to run the administration, that was a position that was professionalized, and that person was answerable to the board.
Right.
Okay. So essentially, cricket is about people who love the game. If you go to India right now with the IPL playing, lots of kids don't have access to televisions, but they'll all be playing some sort of cricket in the street.
Correct.
They are doing it not for money, because they want to play and they love the game.
Right.
And that's the same the world over. Doesn't matter where you are. That's the same the world over. And so the answer right now is, I'm not even sure we have enough money to pay a CEO. I don't know the answer. Maybe we do, in which case we need to employ one, because that person's job is to then do what they can to structure the development of Kenyan cricket.
Correct.
And organise things.
Correct.
Organise junior development programme, organise the national team. Cricket Kenya shouldn't be responsible for running the leagues in the country. That's not their job. It isn't the job in India. It isn't the job in England. It isn't the job in Australia. The cricket authorities in Australia, they have regional leagues.
Yes.
And regional bodies are made up of volunteers run those bodies. It should be the same here. So I hope that's sort of answered your question.
Yes, that has answered the question. So now, are you vying for that position?
Absolutely not.
Why? Why would you say that?
Because I spent over 25 years as an elected official, voluntary elected official, trying to help to run and develop Kenyan cricket. And I realised, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, even after the Normalisation Committee has put things in place. I think it's going to take a very long time before the rancour, the vested interests, the internal Kenyan cricket politics, the tribal politics, the community politics, all of the things that have contributed to the downfall of Kenyan cricket, that doesn't change overnight. And whoever takes on this responsibility, really, they are going to have broad shoulders, and they're going to need the support of everybody. And you and I'm sure everybody in the studio reads and looks at the social media cricket chat groups and things.
Yes.
Well, even these shows that have been going with Jimmy and Sharad Rao and last week Asif, some of the sort of vindictive and the rancor that comes back as a result of what people are talking about, we've all got to put that aside. Everybody that comes into this studio says one thing: we've got to work together.
Yes.
Well, until we do that,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so going back to your question, do I want the job? Because I know that however hard one works right now, you're going to have to swim through that morass before you get anywhere. And I've given 20 or 30 years already to that, and I don't want the job. But I am there, as I am already, outside the organisation, through the charity that I run, I'm hoping that we're contributing to the development of young Kenyan girls and boys, to give them a passion for playing the sport. That's where
it is going to work out, especially if you have this vested interest in building the sport in this country. So naturally it will work one day or the other. You're already pushing through for that, and I hope that does happen. But you spoke about the normalization committee. Are you also of the opinion that there should have been someone with a cricketing background or having some sort of knowledge about cricket in the committee? Because right now what we see is absolutely no one knows anything about cricket.
Very good question, and you might be surprised that I don't necessarily share the views of the because in my view I think it is a bonus that the people that have been appointed to this committee have absolutely no knowledge of the sport itself, nor the past administrators and the different factions that have created the problem that we have in Kenyan cricket. The minister has put together a panel of extremely qualified, high-powered people of great respect, who have legal backgrounds, but they don't know about cricket. You don't need to know about cricket to work out a structure and to put things in place that will make sure that the sort of politics of Kenyan cricket doesn't move forward into the future. They've got to listen to the views of all the people. So people have suggested there should maybe be a past chairman or somebody who knows something about cricket. Well, all of us, me included, who've been on administrations over the years, we all come with baggage. Because we've all been part of it. And so we all have an opinion, and maybe it's a biased opinion. This normalization committee are totally independent people who've been tasked with a difficult task to try and put things straight and right and get a new constitution which not just guides us, but that's what has to be followed. And as long as the constitution is then followed and their advice is followed, then there is a chance moving forward. So as long as they engage the people that you mentioned, I think it is better that they are not on the normalization committee.
Well, you heard it. If you agree with him, let us know your thoughts. 07581234444 is the number to reach us on. Also, if you have a question for him, hit us up on the same number. Still in conversation with David Waters, and I still have Priyanka and Mitesh with me in the studio as well. Now, Kenya lost. Well, it was almost going to be getting its test. It was going to be recognized as a test nation, right? There was a point where we were almost being recognized as a test nation by ICC, and then we lost it. Mitesh, you have a question on that.
You mentioned David Waters. I recall him calling him David Maji. That's what everyone, I think, refers to him. But look, from the golden generation of that 2000, where do you think it's been the downfall? The players, the management, board. What do you think has been the downfall of it?
I think there's no simple answer. There's no one answer. You can't put the fault in everybody. It's a combination of contributory circumstances. The management is at fault. The players were at fault because they went on strike just on the verge of games for more money and whatever it was. That was a mistake. But that wasn't what contributed. Wasn't the main reason for the downfall. It was a combination of mismanagement. It was a combination of not using the resources when we had them to invest in youth development. I really do think that is the key thing. And actually, funnily enough, one of the other things that seriously contributed to the not demise, but less interest in Kenyan cricket was the advent of cricket being brought into people's living rooms on the television We didn't used to have cricket on the television in Kenya, and the minute that cricket was beamed from India and Pakistan and England and Australia into people's living rooms, instead of coming to support Sir Ali or Gymkhana or Aga Khan, people would sit at home and they'd get their fix of cricket at home. And that therefore diminished the number of people that came to watch.
Correct.
When I was playing in those days that you're talking about, in the 80s and early 90s, we would have 3,000-4,000 people that came to watch us. And then about a month after cricket was beamed in here, we had 300 or 400, and then it was 30 or 40, and if you're lucky, it's 3 or 4. And so, I think those are the main reasons. But one of the reasons that we do not have a competitive cricket team now is that we did not invest in youth development.
Right.
So, Mr. Waters, I have a question. Based on, in a nutshell, all the problems that you've said in terms of mismanagement of resources, not adequate administration, do you think holding the elections is a solution we see? Or is this something, or like you said, we're putting the horse before the cart here?
It is a solution, ultimately, and it has to happen. Because the Normalisation Committee, as we've already said, they're charged with looking after cricket for now, but they don't know anything about cricket. And actually, that's not what they're interested in doing, which is running the game. And at some point, those in the cricket fraternity have to take back ownership of their own sport, and they have to manage it. So the short answer to your question is, we definitely do need elections under a new constitution so everyone knows where they stand.
Super. And I know you have been handling the youth development for cricket in Kenya. Can you just give us a brief about that? What exactly do you do? How's your day looking like? Where exactly are you training them? Anything you want to mention about what you do behind the scenes, not being part of Cricket Kenya?
Yeah, absolutely. It was done outside the radar of Kenyan cricket, and the organisation that I run has a UK registered charity called the East Africa Character Development Trust. And in Kenya, it is the Foundation for Youth Cricket and Education in Kenya Charitable Trust, a convoluted name. Basically, we're one of the same body. Funds are raised to run the thing. We employ 20 Kenyans, men and women, as coaches. We work in 5 hubs in and around Nairobi in places like Kawangware, Kangemi, Eastleigh, Isinya, and out at Ngewe Primary School and Tartu City Primary School towards Thika. We work within the school's curriculum during their life skills and PE lessons, and we promote character development based on 7 or 8 character traits: curiosity, determination, gratitude, optimism, self-control, social intelligence, and integrity.
Wow.
And so each session that we run in any of those schools, one of those character traits is highlighted so that the kids get to learn about it during the course of a cricket training lesson. So we teach kids who've never heard of the game of cricket until we started how to play cricket, but we focus on their character development so that once they've left school, they can play a positive role in their communities, their families, their schools, their universities, and ultimately and most importantly, we want to make kids more employable so they get jobs in the end. In a nutshell, that's what we do.
Right.
If you wouldn't mind, I've got one very quick.
Please, yes, go ahead.
Just to give you an example, when we started this program in 2014, the first session we ever ran was at Kawangware Primary School. We had a class of 100 kids, boys and girls of primary school age, and the coaches Dola Abala and Dominic Wasonga and I were there. And Dominic asked them, who knows what cricket is? And not one kid put up their hand. And then one little boy put up his hand and said, it's an insect. And
he wasn't wrong. Yeah, he was correct.
He was correct, and he was praised for his answer.
Absolutely.
But then Dola went on to explain what cricket was. So that no one knew what the game was.
Right.
Now fast forward, okay? So 2 girls from that school, Alice and Lavender, both of those kids, girls who'd never been out of Nairobi in their lives and basically restricted their lives to the informal areas in Kawangware. Both of those girls have represented the full Kenya ladies international cricket team. One in South Africa. Lavender was sent to India for 1 month by the ICC to take part in a India training session. They had passports and they got into cricket not because they wanted to travel to India or South Africa, not for money, but because they
love
loved
the sport.
the
The game.
sport.
Correct.
That's what it's all about.
Well, I have a couple of questions that are coming in right now. Someone's asking, do we really have level-headed and professionally qualified people to take on the office? Not just people who emotionally think they can take over Cricket Kenya, but have no professional qualifications or know how to run a national governing body. So basically, are we having level-headed and qualified people here?
Okay, so the quick answer to that is I'm not a proponent of the argument that you need a professional qualification to have a passion nor the ability to run a sport. Absolutely not.
Right.
And that's not true anywhere in the world. If you go to India or you go to England, the people that run the cricket clubs and the associations
Have
are
never
people
played.
who love it.
Yes,
And
it's just love.
yes, it is. But you obviously have to have
Some knowledge.
Some knowledge,
Yes.
and you are elected. And therefore, it is up to the electorate to choose the right leaders. We're a microcosm of society, are we not?
Yeah.
And the same can be said of national politics. We choose our own leaders, and we must choose them wisely. There is one. In my view, there is one position
Yeah.
that requires more than just passion. The treasurer of any association must understand accounts and has to have a full understanding
Yes.
of how to read spreadsheets, produce budgets.
Right.
They don't have to have any knowledge of cricket. They just have to understand,
Accounts.
from a point of integrity, money.
Right. Right. I've also got one more question. What criteria should be used to find the head of the new cricket committee?
It's a very, very difficult question to answer. But I mean, I think I go back to the sort of the theme of what my belief in sport and cricket. Number one, you've got to have a passion. Number two, you've got to be a person of integrity. Number three, you've got to have a degree of intelligence and vision.
Right.
And you've got to be able to run an organisation. Now, these aren't formal qualifications that I can give you a piece of paper for, but they are all prerequisites of any successful organisation, whether it's a business or, in this case, a cricket organisation.
So if they don't have that, they'd rather go to David to learn about it, right? Because he is developing youth with the same criteria as you just mentioned. You are giving those criteria to the youth.
If we wait
And it's working.
if we wait 10 years, the 14-year-olds that we're now teaching at the moment hopefully will be 24-year-olds and electable in, yes, indeed.
Hopefully, yes. Well, it has been an honor having you on the show. Any parting thoughts that you may have?
Just something I mentioned before,
Yep.
we've got to come together, put our differences aside and work for the good of Kenyan cricket. Nothing more than that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And we will be seeing you next week only on the T20 show from 12 p.m. to 3. Have a good Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to you.